Morning, God, may trust and justice remain with this council in their deliberation.
Just before we start, I apologise for running late to everyone that's in the gallery, so I do apologise. And let's get started. Apologies and leave of absence. Is there any that anyone needs to put in? No. Disclosures of interest in today's meeting. Is there anything?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Nichols.
I'll put them in over there. Sorry. Go to someone else and I'll come back to me.
Just, have you got them? What are they? Scale?
Yeah, they're down there. One was to do with the Wentworth Bowling Club has asked for a grant.
99.5 to 99.16.
Okay.
And I'm the Vice President, and the other one, that was pecuniary interest, and I've got a non-pecuniary interest where there were photographs and also a declaration about a bowling green being finished. So.
Okay, so 9.5 and 9.16.
Thank you.
Movement and second. Councillor Evans, Councillor Wilson, all those in favour? Carried.
I've got one yet.
Councillor McKinnon.
Sorry, Councillor McKinnon.
9.6, even though I'd like to be in it, I'll be 9.6.
9.6?
Yep.
Sorry, I'll just put it again. Councillor Evans, you're happy to move that again with
Yes.
Councillor McKinnon and
Yeah, I'm
Councillor
happy to leave
Wilson?
that.
Significant pecuniary.
And sorry, Councillor Hayward, have you got one?
Yeah, well, same as Councillor McKinnon, really, 9.6.
9.6. Okay. Sorry, I moved too quick on those, didn't I? Okay. Confirmation of the previous minutes, they're there in front of us.
I'll move there with some questions, Madam Mayor.
Okay, move Councillor Nichols, seconded Councillor Elstone. Councillor Nichols, the question?
Madam Mayor, on page 21, I actually asked what buildings were suitable to have solar energy installed.
Sorry, that's 6.1, that's not in previous minutes?
It's part of last. Oh, no, sorry.
We'll address it as part of the outstanding matters, if that's okay, Councillor.
Okay.
Councillor Noonan.
In relation to item 10.2, could a letter be sent to where they call themselves roads to New South Wales nowadays, saying the highway that runs through 4 of our village areas needs upgrading highway code lighting, old being model.
In regards to the town lighting.
And that's true.
So that road goes through.
Dead and we should have highway code lighting right through, not just on bends, right through. We've got lots of the bricks that really good light there lighting.
Yeah.
Can you comment on that, Jeff?
I would address that, Councillor. Previous meeting with traffic, the RMS about 3 weeks ago, the lighting issue for Denton, Baronga and through the Golgol was raised as an issue. We did discuss that at length with regards to the upgrade to the lighting code and also in conjunction with the new developments with 98. So, that is being acted on now. There'll be some correspondence with regards to that follow-up and a request back through to RMS out of engineering through Ken.
Planting trees on the Silver City Highway, between Pump Station Road and Horton Street. We have now got another junk heap has emerged. The house here has got 47,000.
Are you in the previous?
That's in the outstanding ones.
Yeah. 6.1, we'll get to that.
Oh, sorry, but the,
Yeah, we'll just get.
still in minutes, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we've had a mover and a seconder on the previous minutes, so if there's no more on that, I'll move it. All in favour? Carried. Now we'll go to 6.1, which, sorry, Councillor Mooney, is
Sorry,
our
I thought you'd
outstanding
done.
actions. Yeah, so we'll start with what you're asking.
Yeah, the trees that we're going to plant on the highway there, to hide that old vineyard. There's also now a massive junk heap. An absolute eyesore. But the trees are planted will cover that up as well.
Yeah.
I've been told that they're going to use advanced trees for $150 a pop.
Point of order about that is the item needs to be moved and seconded.
Yeah, we can. I'll have a move it. You move it, Councillor Noonan. Yeah, seconded, Councillor Elstone.
Any items for discussion?
Sorry, yeah, we've got a starting date on that. Can we get a starting date?
We've gone to our team leader of Parks and Gardens who's indicated power lines up the top, irrigation main down the bottom. Let's review maybe some other options. Respect, you and I just sort of thought they're just plenty grow trees. He's sort of thinking we'll have to the right screening. He's looking at other type screening type stuff. So starting date was going to be in the spring when we plant them. So we're still working towards that, but I might have to come back to the other option to certain areas of that.
What pipe runs on that other option on the other side of the road?
Sorry, I'm only taken. I preempted this discussion and I said, are we right to go? And I got told about an irrigation main.
Yeah, it's a Western Murray
irrigation main. Yeah.
That's on the road.
Yeah, so that's
Okay. We plant all the anthers, they grow quickly. No one plays with them because they're poisonous. All right, town plan, town plan. Work in progress, I take it.
yeah, it is through the strategic work that planning's doing. And it's difficult to sort of put your finger on it. We've got the code lighting thing. We're going strategic planning, so it is work in progress.
If I may,
Yes,
I can
Matthew.
also add to what Ken just said. So the once we finalise the Baronga Gold Structure Plan, the Derek strategy is next in line.
And just finally, I had a very fruitful meeting with Belinda, looking at speed humps. She said 2 lots can actually go in, but the major one in Devonport Road will need council approval because it's a serious resulting in bollards and stuff like that. Up to police were happy as long as they were low enough that the lowered BMW patrol car over the side of the lawn, because there's certain maximum height.
So that's on the road. You're talking the speed humps that go from the school
No.
around to that road that goes around to the highway?
That's where they are,
Yeah.
but Councillor Noonan wants some in and around the top.
Oh,
Yeah,
you want-
particularly where there's looking at one there in Patrol Street where between the 2 lots of go flat.
Yeah, where they
It's a speedway, and they
yeah,
speed up
yeah.
the Billy Street, they roar it and jam
Yeah.
the brakes and skid over the highway, seem to do that often enough.
Yeah,
Something to slow them down, but it has to be, so the police BMW goes bottom out.
Of course.
So this level was discussed to indicate that we're moving in the right direction and things are okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Nichols, you had a question
Yes,
before?
Madam Mayor. On page 21, 10.2.8, I asked for a report on what buildings would benefit from having solar. Says under best investigation, council looking at grant funding and action complete is not complete because of the buildings that were suitable hasn't been answered. So it's incomplete. Also on over on page 23, 10.3, we're going to the local traffic meetings. Meeting is the legislative requirement of all New South Wales Council held quarterly. When was the last one held? And when are we going to hold the next one? Because I can't remember having had one for, I thought it was.
Yeah, we did ask this question the last time. Remember we spoke about those traffic.
So Belinda has upgraded through your office, Ken, with regards to the local traffic committee. So they've the last meeting which was held, which Peter was referring to just before, with regards to the items that came up with the speed humps, was held I think 2 weeks ago with members from the New South Wales Safety Officer, Transport Safety Officer, New South Wales Police, myself and our Road Safety Officer. So it was held 2 weeks ago. And the information And then that all the follow-up information with regards to that meeting comes through to the council here for your decision.
So who are the
Can I
councillors?
just, can I just, I think where you're coming from, Councillor Nichols, a while ago we used to have a roads committee.
We did.
And there was councillors on that committee. They went with the police and RMS, and it was a meeting maybe every quarter.
Yeah, the same as what we're doing now.
Right?
Yeah.
But what was happening, Jeff, it was probably before your time, and then, well, it is before your time. So these meetings were happening, but it wasn't just call a meeting because an issue was raised. These meetings were there, they were done, the councillors, they would all get in the car and they would drive around and address things within the Shire. We haven't had that. I don't think we've even got councillors now. Look, that roads committee meeting seemed to have gone away. Am I right in saying that? I don't think there's a roads committee meeting anymore.
So the
Made one for ages.
Councillor Moon and myself were on that.
Yeah, and we used to involve the police and RMS. Like we used to get together and then a report would come back to different things that were happening. And it was before. It was so that one issue wasn't raised, so to speak.
And it was a hookup to RMS.
Yeah. I hadn't realised, and that's the thing. Unless it's removed from our committees, it should still be functioning.
I did ask about this. I brought this up at the previous meeting, I think.
And the final one I had, Madam Mayor, is I asked plans on page 24, 10.7, Bilber Hall finishing the rainwater tank. I asked about the tank that was already out there, and when I get the answer here, due to health requirements, rules rainwater tanks cannot be installed in public buildings. Should it be outside, or can't we still have rainwater tanks?
The rainwater tank, well, it should be outside. The tank that's currently at the...
It's attached for other purposes.
Yeah, that's the small tank and the small pump to provide the pressure for the toilet area there. So for health regulations for public buildings, for the school rainwater tank wasn't allowed because we couldn't guarantee, obviously, the quality of the water for that.
Okay, thank you. So that's so outside. I mean, that was inside. I know that you wouldn't be able to put a tank inside.
No.
But that's okay then.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any others with the outstanding actions there?
I'll just, for clarity, I won't read it out now, but in relation to that local traffic committee and what used to be and the makeup of it currently, it's a delegation through the representative agency, so I'll provide clarity around that through an email too.
I had a mover and a seconder, so I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 7.1 is my Merrill's report, and it's as read, so I'm happy to move it. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Who was the mover of that previous item?
Councillor Moon.
Yeah.
I mean, Elstone.
Yeah. You got it? Okay, thank you. My report's there. I'll move it. Councillor Elstone seconded. If there's any questions, I will talk on our meeting with. We had a phone teleconference with the Health Minister, Mr. Hazard. Mainly, he was asking about cross-border things because he's got a fair bit of answer for with what's going on COVID-wise. It was just a courtesy thing that touched base with us in regards to that. And after we spoke about that, we then touched on our medical clinic, that is our doctor's clinic that's going to open up, I should say. So he was happy to hear that doctors and that there's going to be a doctor's clinic opening up in the town again. So that was some positive stuff. And
Did he say whether he was going to put some funding in towards it?
well, we ended up sort of going into further discussions with a medical clinic hospital arrangement, and we're going to be having another hook up with him again in the near future in regards to that.
Future planning, very good.
So, yeah, so that was a good positive telephone hookup, and as you can see there are all those cross-border commissioner hookups. They're every second day, and they've been quite good to be part of, and there's still a lot of changes going on with that COVID stuff, as you're probably all aware, and yeah, it changes daily. Everything that's coming through just changes daily, and some of the things that they've got going on now, as you would be aware of, you know, I sit there and I listen to a council that has got a shearer that needs to go out back and shear, but he's expected to fly into the Sydney airport and self-quarantine and then find his way from there to where he's got to be, which is like a 15-hour drive from Sydney. So some of these things are just so far out of the world, out of realistic things. It's yeah. So, but in saying all that, the coast is they've got a lot more issues than what we have going on up here. We've got a larger bubble zone than what a lot of those people down there have. You heard Gunny speak earlier about contractors being able to come from Victoria outside the bubble to work. They're expected to fly. Everyone that comes into New South Wales is expected to fly into that Sydney airport and then go to what job they've got to do. How can this happen when they've got machinery that they've got to get across the board? Like, it's just unrealistic. It really is. You know,
is that getting addressed?
It is getting addressed, and I think the most frustrating thing out of all of it, and it's coming right along the border, is we on the border are getting more penalised than what the town, like the CBD of Sydney is. Sydney are just still going around doing whatever they want to do, yet these border towns have got restrictions on them like you've got no idea. Like I sit there, I listen to people with health, they can't do this, they can't do that. I've heard a mother having a baby and then she couldn't go and have it because she was outside. All these things, it's I don't know what other words to say to it, but some of it is just so cruel to listen to. And then a mother has a baby and the baby was ill and it had to be shipped, air flown out within hours after having it, and then the mother couldn't go.
Couldn't go to last night.
She couldn't go. Like,
terrible.
There's some really, really serious things going on, and again, I'll put it out there. If anyone wants to sit and listen to one of these, on one of these border cross things, it's a bit of an eye-opener to listen to what's going on. I sat the other day here and listened to people or read on social media, we've been held up on the bridge for an hour. I can't tell you. Albury Wodonga down those ways, Greater Hume, they're sitting for 2 hours. Still now, people are sitting for 2 hours to get every day. And people here are going crook because it's an hour, one day. It's just, yeah. So we are a lot, in some ways, better off. And we've got no, and I keep saying, we've got no reported cases here. Our closest, like Bendigo, these sort of places, and the one reported case, or the reported cases that are coming into these country areas are on all of a postcode system, but it's off a Medicare card that's registered, and that person's not even here, but their Medicare card has that postcode for here. So they're trying to work out it's still not correct information that they're going through and putting out. So you would have heard maybe that there was a case in Orimple, but it's not so. No. There wasn't. That lady's not here. The Medicare card was linked to Orimple, but it's not here. So there's a lot of that sort of thing going on. But in saying all that, I wouldn't like to be a person in control of dealing with all this stuff that's going on. They've got a big job, a huge job. So, Councillor Hayward, on my report.
No, just about that COVID. What I can't understand is that all the cases are linked to somebody flying into the country, hotel thing. You look at it all, it's people that's come in from outside of Australia, and while they keep allowing these flights to come in, we're going to have this problem.
We probably need to do what New Zealand done, just close the whole country down.
Yeah, and then
keep
all of a
everyone
sudden,
out.
bang, they got a few cases.
Yeah, and then someone made a comment the other day, that apparently there's something like 3,000 international students flying back into Australia to start going back to college. Is that too soon?
Money speaks.
You know, so, all right, I have a mover and a second for my report. I'll put it, all those in favour.
I'm just going to ask, sorry, did you mention for staff, council about to come on when you do a teleconference?
Yeah.
Could we have let them know the time of the next one? Because I'd like to listen to what
Yep, I did mention it at the last meeting. They're 9 o'clock in the morning.
What days?
Every second day, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But you know what, Councillor Noonan, I'm happy to come and sit out there if you feel what work, and even if you know. I usually come in here. I usually come in here because it's bed service where I am out there. So I just sit here and. Yeah, it's Microsoft Teams, I think. But can you send the link? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, that would be good because I might be in apology this Friday. So, Councillor Noonan, would you do that for me? Thanks. That would be good. It's just nice to sit and listen.
That's the deputy mayor first.
You know, if you want to do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Is that all right? And I'll let James. So James McTavish runs it, and I'll just let him know that you'll be in there. And there's quite a few. It goes all the mayors, and it goes all the electives for the areas like Helen Dalton and that, and then all your JOs come in. But it's there's a lot, and you'll just sit and. Yeah, thank you. All right, I have a mover and a second. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 8.1 is internal audit and risk management. That's what we had the other day.
The recommendations 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Okay, move Councillor McAllister. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Evans. Any questions on it? Councillor Nichols?
Yes, I'm actually going straight to the attachment 2. Item 6 forwards on page 59 or 99, and I've got some questions there. The RV dump point in Wentworth, can councils be told what the available locations are so council can make a decision if we can't have a decision made? I mean, they're saying there that there's no decision made where we're going to put it. So this is under the questions, it's question number 2.
What page, John?
Well,
page 59.
59. Down the bottom number's 59, but then the number above it's 99. And then it's got delay due to identification of appropriate location. Yep.
Yes.
Sorry about that, councillor, but due to the availability of services, the designated location will be down behind the golf club house or the recreation reserve house down towards the RV parking area.
Because I think we need to make a decision. It's ongoing, and I'll go back to the main body here and come through with these now, Madam Mayor.
So hang on just for a minute then, Councillor Nichols. It sounds like that decision's been made, Ken, on that spot.
Yeah, based on availability of services and proximity to the RV parking area, it'll be down off the car park at in amongst the recreation reserve.
Okay, you happy with that, Councillor Nichols?
Yes,
that decision's been made?
That's
yeah?
fine. Otherwise, I thought council need to make it.
Yep.
The next one is the 4, the Midway Centre road signage, where it says we're waiting for different people to make up their minds. I thought it was a council building, and we made up our mind what we want to put on that sign.
Yeah, so I reviewed the artwork for it yesterday, and it'll progress forward.
Thank you. Good. Again, I'm questioning the same as on 5. Unable to complete in 2019-20, this is the Hareton Main Street upgrade due to additional resources required for grant-funded projects. I know this must frustrate Councillor Noonan because he's asked about upgrades and so on and so forth for months, years. 6, an annual program to cover anticipated costs but no expenditure required for street furniture and also for 7. I don't know why we budget for things if we're not going to use the money, because it's put in there that we're going to get some street furniture. It's also put in there we're going to get more waste bins, and we're not doing it. So, number 9, no further water fountains required in the 1920 project budget. We amended this in the March quarter to get more money, and now we're saying it's not needed. I mean, we need to be consistent with what we're doing. And the others I want to know was 11. Have we got a projected time to when this will now finish? It's the sewer rationalisation program. Was the impact start date was? We've got some sort of idea when it might now occur.
I promise you a Christmas present where both Dayton and Wentworth will be completed.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
Number 12. The final draft of the flood management plan was due by the end of July. Did this happen?
Michelle mentioned that previously when she was in the room. Okay. She was waiting on that documentation to come through, and right up your alley of your previous concerns. Consultants have let us down.
Yeah, okay.
Matthew's got a comment. Sorry, Councillor.
In our discussions with those consultants, their company have been in the Victorian side of the border, unfortunately for us. They've been stood down from their offices, so they're all working from home. They're working at reduced capacities and all sorts of things. Not that it's any excuse, but that's where they're at. But we are emailing them and on the phone with them, 2 or 3 times a week, discussing, talking, whatever else. So we're hoping.
Perhaps you could have one of these meetings that they think is so wonderful.
Yeah, these Zoom meetings. Yeah.
That's not the way. Everyone thinks something Zoom or Blue Jeans or something so wonderful. Perhaps one of those meetings might be the way to get things done. And the other thing is that are both the same. And again, it's COVID-19. It's the capital works plant purchases and also minor plant purchases. And I know we're saying COVID-19 all the time. Have we any information of when these items? Because one would think that.
Just to go all past comment, Councillor.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor. So we are still currently awaiting the 3 major items that were approved well into the previous year. Those items are actually come out of. One comes out of Melbourne, the other 2 come out of South Australia. So the hold up with the close down of those factories and the delay on the imports. So we've got our latest information and update on those particular items is one due at mid-October and the other 2 in November.
See, 9 items plant, wouldn't those be plant sourced? And if you say something was last year, well, that to me.
2 of those particular items, they're a local business. The dealership is here, but they have to source the vehicle from either Melbourne or Adelaide, and in one of those cases, or 2 of those cases, that's imports back into the country and the bills.
The major items, there's no cost increase.
No.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Is there any other?
I was going to have just one question. I couldn't get to a meeting for other reason, but item 13, landfill machinery not purchased. Now, we got an insurance payment for the backhoe or the Cato. Why didn't we get a new one? It's still with the council that goes in and hand off the running of the waste. Why haven't we got a new backhoe? There's no insurance for it. Or Cato, what they call them, excavator. We're going to be paying megabucks to hire one.
Is that where you brought that proposal for what type of purchase machinery, how we further progress the acquisition? Simon brought options for me to consider how we might fund, whether it's lease, hire, or whatever the case may be. And due to the indecision around that, I did sit on the fence, but having said that, it's procrastinated a lot, and he only come to me a few weeks ago and said we shouldn't move forward with it. So we're looking at an option to how we will replace the machinery or buy machinery for the landfill.
I would have thought if you've got an insurance paid to go and buy one. Meeting appreciated.
Not that money.
Give you, okay.
That last excavator we bought, we paid over 150,000 for it. The brand new one in Sydney was 211,000 with no hours. So
I know what I'd buy.
yeah,
No
well,
hours.
we paid 150 and then about 15,000 for the buckets. So it was actually 165,000 and a brand new one was 211.
All right. Councillor McKinnon, I am not getting you out there. You've got nothing that you want to ask in regards to this one?
No, keep going.
All good, thank you. I have a move and a second, then I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 8.2 is Murray-Darling Association, or the MDA delegate report from July.
I'm happy to move this, Madam Mayor, and I can speak to it as well if someone wants to.
Moved Councillor McAllister, seconded Councillor Hayward. Councillor McAllister.
I just wanted to mention, although it hasn't been printed out, what the Murray-Darling Association is doing for their national conference this year. And I noted Councillor Noonan's concern about the gift pack, so I've brought it along. This is what I've been sent, which is a melamine cup, I think it is, with coffee and tea and some biscuits in it, and a cow from Greater Shepparton, and also a little visitor's book from Shepparton, because that's who's hosting the meeting this year. And they've also got, there's a bit of information here if councillors want to have a look at it, about the conference, but what they're doing is trying to urge 10 registrations for the conference, which is going to end up being cheaper than sending one person to an ordinary meeting. So the entire thing's going to be run virtually, which is why they've given us cups of tea and sugar and things. And also trying to do a bit of a membership drive. So they've got some interesting people speaking. The other point that I'll make, so I guess I can't remember whether Council has previously nominated delegates to attend, but I guess what I would do is urge councillors that are interested to register, and also they're looking at also inviting officers as well. So if the Director of Roads and Engineering or any of the directors or the GM is interested in attending as well, the speakers.
They also get a mug and a cow.
Sorry?
They also get a mug, a cow and a little pack of bickies.
Yes, you do. If you're registered, you'll get all of this, that's right. And also, the other thing is they're having a presentation. There was a report which I think I brought to Council some time ago about the climate risk to Council's built environment. So it was basically by an insurance company looking at 5 potential changes that could impact council assets into the future, including through riverine inundation, etc. And this council and the whole region, thankfully, seems to be unaffected, but councils like Shepparton and Albury, not so much. And the other thing that I'll mention, so there's lots of interesting things on the agenda. Have a look at it and let Gail know if you do want to attend, because it is much cheaper than it's ever been before, and it'll give you an idea of what the Murray-Darling Association is up to. Page 100 of the briefing, also the delegates' report, there is an outcome there that refers to DPI, and the reason I mention it is because it relates to another item, my notice of motion further on in the brief. The Murray-Darling Association has heard consistent complaints from various regions in New South Wales about the way that DPI have been engaging with stakeholders, including councils. And so they've brought up, I'm feeling your pain actually, because I know it directly affects our work. And so the Murray-Darling Association has mentioned the very last sentence that the Murray-Darling Association met with DPI and urged the department to revise its water stakeholder and community engagement policy to more actively involve and collaborate with communities as described in the IAP2 spectrum. So that's a best practice framework for community consultation, and it's something that they're not currently doing. So that is being progressed through the Murray-Darling Association, and we'll probably talk about it again further on in the agenda. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder, and sorry, Councillor Nichols.
Yeah, can I ask Councillor McAllister a question, please? What region are Broken Hill in?
Broken Hill's part of Region 4.
Part of, okay.
Yeah.
And I noticed Dowie and Emma Bradbury met with the Federal Water Minister.
No, that's David.
Darling.
The Water Minister actually had a meeting with the whole of Broken Hill Council.
Okay.
So they were concerned because they've been left out of the consultation about the Menindee Lakes.
Okay.
So they requested a meeting with her.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move in a seconder. If there's no further, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 8.3, Willandra Lakes Region World Heritage Advisory Committee report.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to move this one as well and speak to it as Council's delegate, and in fact the only local government representative on the Willandra Lakes World Heritage Area Region Advisory Committee. I've attended, I think, 2 meetings now, both of them virtual. Sorry, was there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah, second, Councillor Hayward.
Until what's discussed is reported, it remains confidential. So you'll see there is a little bit of a lag with information coming out. Part of the reason for that is that the advisory committee advises to the management committee, I believe, who then advises to the minister. I know, and then the minister has to approve things and it goes back through the chain. So you'll note that this report is from April 2020. The good news is there's been some discussion about the Liaga Homestead adaptive reuse to be used as a research facility so that the traditional owners, the 3 TTGs, the tribal traditional groups, whatever the TTs stand for, will be able to meet with researchers and have input into whatever studies are being done. What has also come up, both of the meetings that I've attended so far, is the need for roads. And with that, there's a concern that whatever infrastructure is brought to the Willandra Lakes region doesn't impact on the World Heritage values. So thinking about how, if, because I know Council has been pushing for sealing the Arumpo Road so that people can get out there more safely, in particular the Mungo Youth Project when there's lots of people travelling on there. If a lot more people were able to get there, then that would create other issues around infrastructure, in particular water availability, toilets, all of that. So what this council might need to have a think about is whether this council, that council and maybe the joint organisation through its tourism planning can have a think about strategically perhaps coming up with a collaborative joint project with National Parks and Destination New South Wales, for example, to talk about what is required. And I've also asked the group to consider whether they want this council to keep pushing for sealing that road, because I've made the point that it seems to be quite unpopular with the state government. And yet it would serve to improve tourism and also safety around that area as well. So I'm hoping to report further back on that. But
what kind of a response did you give to that question?
About the road.
Yeah.
Every different group. So there's the Aboriginal Advisory Group, the landholders group.
Yeah, what kind of response do you give to your question?
Sorry.
They want it done, or?
Yeah, they do. All of them. All of the different groups are all for sealing the road. But then, of course, they brought up then if there's more people able to get out there, where are they going to go to the toilet and you know, where are they going to get their water from and how can we resolve those issues. So it's been suggested that we look at it as a sort of, or perhaps put it through the management committee to the minister, that we consider a package of management measures to maximise the benefits and minimise the identified or any identified disbenefits that should be included in any funding submission, and also suggested possible joint funding or collaboration with Wentworth, Balranald National Parks and maybe Destination New South Wales. So there may be some opportunities for tourism growth through that.
All right, thank you so much. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no questions for Councillor McAllister, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.1 is General Manager's report. Again, Councillor Nichols moved, seconded. Councillor Evans. Question, Councillor Nichols?
Yes, on page 107, there is no mention of the special liquor record meeting to be held tomorrow. So could that be added, please? Or put into the, that's in the system. And the other thing, the circular on page 11, and I thought I asked a question around this last month and told we couldn't apply. Again, it's on page 111, the Office of Local Government with the stimulus package.
I have the same question.
Yeah, we must surely have people that we some money for.
No, we don't qualify for the job retention component of the stimulus package. Because we haven't laid anybody off as a result of the pandemic, and we haven't had a reduction in our cash receipts that meets the requirements or the eligibility criteria for the.
There isn't?
No.
I mean, everybody seems to have their hand out for what they can get. And we seem to be the only ones who are not getting anything. We've got all our staff still working, so.
Just a point of interest, councillors, in relation to the circular on the next month's mayoral elections, if in line with if Councillor McKinnon was remote as he is today, there's no choice. It'll be a show of hands, open ballot. So just so with your next agenda papers for that election, there'll be nomination forms attached within your folder for the nomination of mayor and deputy mayor for the next council meeting.
Isn't that how we normally do it?
I was trying to remember.
I think it was.
Yeah.
So it's the day.
Yeah.
Where's the second ballot track?
Yeah, but if Don's remote, well, yeah, it's got to be showing hands.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a mover and a seconder on this, so if there's no further questions, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.2 is the call for nominations for Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference.
I'll move it now and there, but I really haven't got a motion to put up.
Move Councillor Elstone, second Councillor Nichols.
Yeah, perhaps we could put up something like the bubbles, I think they call them bubbles, be constructed across border zones in adjoining municipalities in regional and rural areas in time of pandemics to allow normal schooling, health, business and family activities to proceed. I think what's happening at the moment is this business of coming backwards and forwards like we are in various areas. We haven't had a genuine one in Sunraysia since the start. We've had those that have been attributed to us because people haven't changed their licences or they haven't changed their addresses or those sorts of things. And I think that these bubbles, you're saying an hour on the bridge, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to sit there every night if I was working in Mildura and had to sit for an hour every night. You know, and nor should people have to sit. So I believe that there must be the ability for bubbles for those sorts of things. And I'm thinking Albury Wodonga was probably another one. So I think they need to have special consideration. And I think perhaps at the local government conference may be the way to at least promote it.
A lot of people will be talking about Councillor Nichols at this conference because if there's anything I can tell you is every council is different. Everyone has got different
Well, I mean,
things, so I dare say this conference will be
I mean, we could
full
say
of a
the
lot of
specified areas.
cross-border stuff, yeah.
No, I don't know what the others think, but yeah. Thoughts?
Anyone else got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that's a good one. We've got time though, I think, Madam Mayor, the motions close 28th of September, so perhaps we could submit them for the next council meeting. Because the other one that keeps coming through, the Murray-Darling Association Region 4, is a call for the Royal Commission into water management. So, you know, we put that up before, but I think it probably needs to go up again.
Well, that's Councillor McAllister. It's the same as they put up container refunds for at least 20 years before it got to New South Wales. So eventually it happened.
Okay, so can we ask if we can put something on paper or motions like that on paper for the next meeting, and we can get them at the September meeting? Are you happy to do that? Councillor McAllister, are you happy with that one as well? Everyone else? All right. So I have a move and a seconder on that. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.3 is a DPIE assessment of take and projects during first flush flows. That is such a mouthful.
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to move this one.
Okay, move Councillor McAllister, seconded. Councillor Whelan, thank you. Okay, thoughts, people?
So if I can just speak to it, the newly constructed firm of Slattery and Johnson, who are both previous employees of Murray-Darling Basin Authority and left there famously because concerns that the authority had the ability to track flows, in particular floodplain harvesting, and continued to refuse to do so. And they're, as it says in here, representing the Southern Riverina irrigators in a case that they have against the Murray-Darling Basin Authority. The reason why this affects us is because if anybody has bothered to read the floodplain harvesting report or the assessment of take from DPI, you'll see that the figures don't add up, and I'll let Councillor Elstone speak to his back of the envelope calculations. Also, we know that previously 2 of our councillors have flown up when there's been rain events and seen the outrageous amount of storages in the Northern Basin. So I would contend that it serves this council to support this report that the Slattery and Johnson are putting together to finally put a number on the amount of floodplain harvesting that's being undertaken. Because if we don't add up, we keep getting told 40 pies, and there's lots of so-called adaptive management, which is significantly decreasing the amount of inflows that are able to get past Burke and through to us. And I have it on good authority that there are other councils up the Darling River that are also looking at this. I would suggest that council considers an amount of $5,000 towards this project to help fund the work, which will include a literature review and also some on-the-ground work and some investigation around the depth of some of those on-farm storages in the Northern Basin, which the Councillor Hayward and Councillor Elstone noted might look a certain way, but when you talk to people on the ground, you discover they're actually a lot deeper than you would expect.
Councillor Elstone, do you want?
Yeah, I mean, like reading through it, they're saying the average storage size for the north is 540 square metres. That's fine as a surface area, but subject to what the depth is, that could be any amount of water. They'll have a lot of difference, 2 metres deep, 6 metres deep. Slattery and Johnson are on the back of the SRIC going to do this review. Councillor McAllister, have you heard anything further in relation to meeting we had at Coomiella, I reckon we had 3 years ago, when they were going to definitely by the following July have a pinpoint figure, and it would be within 2% of what the on-farm storage in the floodplain harvesting was in the north.
That was the department.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what this report is, and the figures just don't add up.
I've read it.
Yeah.
Thought pretty thoroughly. Have they got an actual number in there? No, they've got 1,300 gigs of on-farm storage.
No.
But
If they have it, and I believe they do,
they haven't got the actual
they're
take.
not releasing it.
Well, they were going to do that. You were there, Councillor Wilton was there at Coomiella Golf Club that day, and it was, I remember asking the question, it was going to be, yes, we'll have it by the following June, and we'll have it within 2%.
Yeah. They were also going to provide us with information about the Western Mears project, and nothing came directly to the council.
Councillor Nichols?
Interested in so far as Slater and Johnson have been engaged by the Southern Riverina irrigators to map and estimate on-farm storages in northern New South Wales. That interested me. And looking at the letter on page 157, they really don't ask for any money. They just say in the last sentence, if you're interested in participating, please contact us and we can provide you with more detail on projects. So.
I did read somewhere about.
But I can't see money, and I'm feeling that this is something that the New South Wales government, perhaps the Fed, should have a go and come up with.
Well, I don't think the governments will do it, because
They probably won't, but they should.
Because the info you get from the government is no one's happy with it. That's why the SRIC have got into it. I've asked them to investigate it.
Just before you do, in the fourth paragraph, the second sentence, we are seeking a financial contribution from local councils.
I thought I did read it somewhere.
I read it, and I'm going, you know.
I actually did ask Mary-Anne Slattery what they needed, and she said she's just hoping mainly that councils get supported, but she suggested 5,000 and just didn't want to ask because some councils might be able to afford it. It might be more important to some councils than others.
There's something coming out from the government many years ago now, and council rejected it because they were going to look at every little dam on every property and everything, and all dams, and they were going to estimate how much water was in them, and then do a charge type thing to the people who had that land. And I think the comment made was then that when it rained, the rain fell from the sky and was a gift of God, and therefore, if you dug a hole and some water fell in it, it was considered to be yours. But that's going back a lot of years. But I mean, I know now that you're looking at Tandown, those places like that. They're like Sydney Harbour, so.
That's right. And the other thing too about what you've just said is the thinking endures that evaporation is a loss, and yet when it falls from the sky, it's a gift from God. But if it doesn't evaporate, it doesn't fall somewhere else. So, you know, that's skewing as well.
The only sort of query I would have, I mean, there shouldn't be a structure in the state that hasn't got a form of approval, that the state government can't go, yes, we'll approve this on such and such a date. This is the area depth. You build a dam that would have been approved and inspected and all that kind of thing, isn't it?
The thing is, though,
I don't know why a collective group like councils or MDA or MDBA, anyone, can't go to New South Wales or the Queensland government for that matter and say, what is that number?
I can't see that they're going to give it to you, Tim, because like how many banks have been put up without approval to floodplain harvest? They're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably what you're saying. So that's what they were saying at this meeting we had at Coombe was, we will have that within 2%. Well, we haven't seen a number
I don't trust them.
It could be 10,000 megalitres. We don't know.
the other thing that we do know, Councillor Elstone, remember when we spoke to CSIRO when this council was considering a study of evaporation rates from Menindee versus Northern Basin storages, and CSIRO told us that they knew everything that was behind the farm gate. So they knew the quantities, but again, that information for whatever reason can't be released.
Well, why doesn't it come out and why can't it be released?
Because those depths of dams, like when we looked at it, we thought maybe 3 metres, and we spoke to Mayor of Narromine, and he said 6 metres.
Bloke from St George, on it, the general manager.
Yeah, and
Said most of it, yeah, said most of his area was 6 metres.
6 metres.
Same as that.
So that
same
was double the
operation.
size of what we thought. Yeah. And when you cross a river and you look one way and there's 30 dams that you can see and 30 dams out the other side, that's just driving it, flying across the river. It shows the enormity of, and around Dalby, like we took off at early hours of the morning, and the glistering on all these dams in that area was just unreal.
There was also a news article a while ago, or not that long ago, in relation to the first flush that I think there was something like 4,000 digs on storage in the Northern Basin, and Bill Johnson said in that article that that'd be right because that's what used to flow into Menindee Lakes.
Can I ask a question? Do we know how many people they're asking for money for this?
I know it's councils on the Barwon Darling, but I'm not sure which groups, because it does say community groups, and I didn't ask that level of detail. But I'm sure if council wanted more information, I'm sure we could.
I think I don't know. I think some more information might be worthy.
Like a copy of the balance sheet.
Of asking. Yeah, and have they got any finance at all to start it or do it?
Well, they're SRIC.
When are they doing it? When's the work meant?
Body.
What was that?
The SRIC would be a fairly influential,
You
would imagine
think so?
fairly financial body.
And I just wonder whether, is there a date that they're going to commence this or do this?
So that page 156, there's a paragraph called timing.
Oh, timing, yeah.
Finalised by October. So the fact of the matter is they're already doing the work. There's just so much more information that they can get hold of. So the literature review really doesn't do too much, but then there's the on-the-ground surveys that are required, I think.
All right. Where are we going with this? We have a mover and a seconder, and I
Well,
recommend.
I've moved that we consider the proposal and to an amount of $5,000.
And I would second that.
Councillor Haywood,
Councillor
second.
McAllister, second Councillor Haywood, with an amount of 5,000.
Yep.
Okay, that's been put. I'll put it. All those in favour? Five. So that's carried. So, Councillor would like his vote recorded against. Councillor Wheeldon, against. Against, Councillor Evans. Councillor McKinnon?
Yep.
For or against that?
Against.
Okay, thank you. We will go to 9.4, policy review, the acknowledgement of country.
Move it, Madam Mayor, with a question.
Move Councillor Nichols, second Councillor Evans. Question?
Yeah, in the document, we've got in one area we say past and present, and in two places we say past, present and future. Can we just have it so it's whatever, one or the other? And
To clarify that, Councillor Nichols, the first one is the current policy. So page 160 is the current policy, then the ones after that is what's.
Okay, well the other thing I'd like done is in the new policy where we on page 160, Welcome to country. It says a welcome to country ceremony should be undertaken by the traditional custodians of the land. Usually, and I think we should have an elder put in there, or a senior representative.
That's the old one. That's the old one.
Bloody hell. We're going well. Where's it?
Just on 161 is the proposed new policy. We've hopefully covered off on some of the detail that you've just brought to our attention.
I'll have a look at this. There's obviously pick a thing up there, little aspects.
While you're reading that, Councillor Nicholas, Councillor Noonan, did you have something?
Yeah, there's still going to remain the option of the mayor to do prayer and or separately listed as
Yeah, the bottom of the one.
page 162.
158.
Well, 158 says the chairperson.
Yeah, so this is a policy of council, but the code of meeting practice.
It's covered off well on bottom page 162 anyway.
Yeah, so the code of meeting practice remains the same wording. You say the chair makes the choice. This is more about if there was a bigger engagement with parliamentarians or whatever else, you might very well bring traditional owners, elders in to have a welcome to country.
That's fine, that's there.
You did have one bit there where it says the chairperson will determine whether to deliver a prayer or and. Or
It used to be and or, both was and or.
Or and or. Do we have and in there?
No, that's what's in the current code of meeting practice. So we'd have to go and revise the code of meeting practice if you wish to make that change.
Yep, different policy.
Yep.
All right, so I have a move and a second, right? You're right now, Councillor Nichols? Yep. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. Councillor Wheeldon, did you want to vote against or?
Oh.
Thank you. 9.5, request for financial assistance. Yeah, sorry, I have a couple that have got to go. Oh.
Got to apologise, I've got the Sydney entrance.
They're a bit lame on us.
Murray House and Rotary.
Okay, you do that. You leave the room for me. Thank you.
Rotary.
Sorry, I better do the right thing and just close the door otherwise. Okay. 9.5, request for financial assistance. The list is there. You just want to start at the start? The Rotary Club of Wentworth?
All good.
All good, everyone?
Yep.
I'd like to move that we approve all of them because I can't see any issue with
Yeah,
any of
one
them.
here. Is everyone else happy to do that?
I just have a couple of comments.
I have a couple of comments.
If I can.
So do you want to just go one by one?
Already seconded. Yes, McAllister moved that they all be accepted.
Okay, so Councillor McAllister has moved that they all be accepted in one hit. A second for that. Right, so that lapses. So we'll then go back and go through one by one. Have a mover and a seconder to go
I'll
through
move
one
to
by
go
one.
through each item individually.
Okay, Councillor Noonan, Councillor Elstone, thank you. So Rotary Club Wentworth?
Yep, all good.
All good. Pomona School?
Yep, good.
All good. Elteringham Saints Basketball Club?
Question. You get it. But it's the same question. You get
Probably
it.
is.
Councillor
I've
Elstone?
got no dramas with supporting the storage facilities, particularly because it's here at the headlight. Just what went through my head is it a little bit dangerous because there would be a lot of sporting bodies across the district that would love to reduce the fees to everyone. And we're going to be looked upon to do all of that.
Another question too, why would they be paying fees when they can't play? Fees should be reduced anyway because they can't play.
That one hasn't come across.
I don't think they should be doing any better fees. Fair enough, helping with the equipment, but not with fees. Open the floodgates, Councillor Elstone, I agree with you.
Yeah. I must have read in the report there was 3,000 that they were looking for
The storage?
Yeah, for the storage. I mean,
Are we
the
happy to
total
make
of
it-
7, they had 4. I'd be
Are we
happy
happy
with
to make it
3,000
three?
support with 3. I'd go with that specifically for the storage.
Yep. Everyone else happy with that?
Where is the storage? Sorry? Is it here? Or
Yeah,
is
it's
it
somewhere at midway.
It'll be out here.
Mm.
In around the, I think they use under the steps. No, we use under the steps. It's up the other end, I believe. Okay, so we're happy with the 3 on that. Okay, Port Courage and Ozfish Unlimited.
Madam Mayor, that this group seems to have a fair bit of push and a lot of money they can get. And when you look at the total, they're asking us for 5,000. Their real contributions, 13,000, is made by volunteers. So really, they're not putting any. We're paying for the lot plus $175 extra we're giving them for 5,000. So I just feel that it's a little bit much.
Do you want to suggest an amount? Do you want to suggest an amount or just anyone else?
I'd rather than anything. I'm not against what they do, but I think they've got other avenues to get their revenue for it.
So make it 2.5. Is that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone happy with that?
Yeah, I don't know much about it. It's $7.5 million this month. Ozfish.
They do a lot of good, and they were pretty sure with them that were pretty helpful with all the fish dramas on the Darling.
That's good because they're going to swim up our way anyway. They put them in at Wendy, they'll swim up to there. So yeah, we'll get a bit of fish later in the lock pool.
Can we request on these things, can we request that we see proof these things being done? Like if they're going to do a rehabilitation program, likewise with the Altringa thing on their upgrade of a storage facility, how do we know that they actually do it?
As far as the Ozfish one goes, I can speak to work that they've been doing in the Darling, basically undoing a previously stupid government policy of taking.
That's what Councillor Elstone mentioned.
Yeah, taking snags out of the river, which is actually where the biota breed that the fish need to eat, and also where they like to hide and breed and stuff.
Are we happy to make it 2.5 then?
It's illegal to pull a tree out of the river.
Sorry?
It's illegal to pull a tree out of the river.
No, so they've been actually putting the trees in, and they took a bunch of us up and showed us where they're putting them in. This project I don't know about, but I'm sure that it's equally as important, because when the government in its wisdom decided to take all those trees out, I think it severely impacted our native fish.
All right, 2.5. We happy with 2.5 for that? Yep, good. Murray House, Wentworth Aged Care.
Yep.
Good. Wentworth Makers.
Yep.
Yep. And Wentworth Bowling Club.
Probably again, Madam Mayor, I'm a little bit unsure. I know we get behind the race meetings and that, but to sponsor specific events, or is something we've done in the past, Simon?
This is the first time the bowling club have put in
I appreciate
for a bowls event. Traditionally, we've sponsored the racers and the rowing club with their various events that they have during the year, and have made contributions to other bodies in relation to some of the events that they run. But this is the first time the bowls that I can remember of have asked for sponsorship in relation to an event that they run.
My concern here, Madam Mayor, is that it says seeking funds due to lack of income due to cancelled events caused by COVID.
I just read that as a
So many other
contradiction.
groups would see that and think, well, we
As
need to find
Councillor,
sorry.
as Councillor Noonan said with the basketball, like if they're not playing, then why charge a membership? So it's a bit along the same sort of line.
If you haven't got an event,
If you haven't got an event, how
It's
can
only
it cost
people
you?
in New South Wales be able to play the way things are going, it would be maybe March next year might be, but I think a lot of money for essentially an amateur game. A lot of money.
Yeah, indeed.
Are we
I
doing?
would say half that amount, provided the events go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we've just gone through the same thing with the Safari Rally. You gave permission for monies to be allocated to them as an organisation. It went ahead.
And we did do
And
that
it's
with
the
the,
same as the races, like Wentworth races, they're not going ahead, so there's no, like, they don't get the money.
sorry, I mean, we did do that with the last round in May, where there were a number of requests for contribution towards events that were going to be held later in the year, and we put a proviso on that.
Yeah.
They'll only get the funds if the event goes.
So do you want to
away.
halve this, as Councillor Noonan said, make it 1,600,
Provided the events go ahead.
provided the event goes ahead?
Events.
Events.
Loads have to go ahead.
Yeah. All right, done. So I have a mover and a seconder.
And
Oh,
can I, if I could move an amendment,
amendment, yeah.
that we make those grant donations as requested, but where a cash component involved, we receive proof of acquittal of those funds for the purposes that that grant's being done. Acquittal, yeah.
Can I just ask if you can see what Gail's writing up there for that amendment? Can you read it, or can someone read that out? Gail, I really find that hard.
The council, having considered the current requests for financial assistance, provide funding each of these applications with the exception of the Altrincham Saints Basketball Club Inc. changed to 3,000, Port Courage and Ozfish Unlimited 2,500, and the Wentworth Bowling Club Inc. 1,600. That will be, provided the event goes ahead from the donations, contributions, and grant projects. So we need to insert.
And what did you say, Councillor Noonan?
Where there is a grant, that the funds that go through the acquittal process for any funds that are granted.
Sorry, Councillor McAllister, can you just?
Where there is a grant, that there be an acquittal process.
Yep.
Is that everything?
Yep, thank you. So can I just go back, who moved in second?
I'll do the amendment.
Yeah.
I think I seconded.
Councillor Noonan and Councillor Austin.
Okay, so, and then Councillor Noonan has put an amendment in. Councillor Halstone, you're happy with that?
Yep.
I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We will get.
Now you have to vote on the motion.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. We're doing it right.
We do. Now we've got to vote on, we voted on the amendment, so now we've got to vote on the motion. So, Councillor Noonan, Councillor Halstone second. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I will now ask if we can bring these guys back in, and I think,
Don, Steve, somebody else.
yeah, can you ask these guys to come in? And Councillor McKinnon, are you right if we just?
Yeah. I'll go and get a cup of tea.
You go and make a cup of tea.
Yep.
We'll all have one.
I've only got room to make one.
Yes, no, we can't hear him, but he can still hear us. So yeah, he's got to go out of the room, so we can't vote.
Okay, 9.6 is where we're at.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Elstone moved, the seconder. Councillor McAllister, thank you.
Just with a comment that I'm reading through the report, it makes pretty much practical sense to do what you say you're going to do and then go out to tender.
Yeah, so sorry, I'd given you the advice previously that we'd go into the tender process, and if someone else was going to take it on board, they would be responsible for this, but he's come back and basically said too risky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, support that. That's good advice.
Sorry, he being,
Jeffrey Webster, the bloke that come and addressed the council December, I think it was.
I was told how we can make money out there.
The bloke that said that there's a lot of learning
Doing it
done.
wrong, that they're doing it very wrong, and we could be doing it another way. Goes to ignoring.
No, we're working with him now to see how to play.
Hand up to somebody else.
Options are open, councillor Moon.
Options.
Just a question, Madam Mayor, I might have come in from another direction. How long would our current cell last if we didn't take stuff from the other side of the river?
How long's a piece of rope? How much are you going to take?
Well, we should know how much we're putting into it.
that was in the report.
Yeah, look,
We've
got a 30,000 tonne licence out there at the moment.
Yep.
And due in part to some of the discussions that we've had, we're actually importing waste in from South Australia. So we get a cash inflow to bring us out in better light financially.
Well, I was there on Sunday and saw one, I reckon about 100 cubic metres in the back of a B double. We shoved it out.
Yeah, that'll be come from South.
Is that just domestic household rubbish?
No, it comes out of.
Yeah, it's all just household rubbish.
No, hospital waste you make use it. We use around because hospital waste is digging because it's too expensive to get it incinerated.
How is COVID going with the South Australian waste then?
Have certain permits to come across.
I don't know where it came from. There's a lot of McDonald's. Bag full of stuff.
I suppose to answer your question, though, Councillor Nichols, if we weren't taking waste from outside the area, there's probably life in the current cell for probably 20 or 30 years, but it then becomes a non-profitable.
That's taking up to 30,000.
Yeah, so we go back to about 5,000 or 6,000 tonnes just generated from our own waste, and just mum and dad's coming in off the street. It becomes an unviable option to run it as a commercial operation.
Yeah, and it's about $1 million per cell, isn't it?
Depends on the size. Depends on the size of the cell you're building. The one that we currently got there at the moment is a small cell. So the next one that's proposed will be considerably bigger than.
Does that too include approvals, EPA approvals, etc.?
I thought that was only about the contractor's price, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean the intent is to get a DA to cover all that expansion off now, and then whoever takes it on board will proceed. I would subject to option.
Councillor Wilton?
Madam Mayor, this is a core service that councils provide, garbage. And if we can make we should be able to make a profit. Other people can make a profit. It's up to us to make sure it's run properly.
Okay, I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put it. No further discussion. All those in favour? Carried.
I'm against.
Against.
I'll make my little obvious down the track.
Okay.
Not happy with that. Against
How
that.
can we let Councillor Fitter know that he can come back?
Particularly the second part of that recommendation. You're against that second part of it, yeah. The tender part, reservation. Anyway, that's for another day.
Yeah, you want? Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
What for another day?
Let the others.
How do we do that? Oh.
If he's got his phone on him.
Pardon?
If he's got his phone on him and he
Yeah,
hasn't,
he's probably left his phone in the room.
It's up on top of the fourth row.
Hold the thing up the thing. Oh, yeah, that's on your own.
Yeah,
he left the room.
Okay.
He might not have his phone on him.
That's our choice, mate. Sort the phone to somebody.
Yeah, it's phone.
So it's a text.
It's not even ring him up.
He's on the phone. So it's ringing.
Oh.
Got his voicemail.
Okay.
Got to get turned off, probably.
Yeah, he's probably got on turned off for a council meeting.
You're back in. Back on off site. I'm suspending standing orders pending the reappearance of Councillor McKinnon. Don't grab a tea. Have a break. I'll move that
Councillor Noonan.
standing order be temporarily suspended.
Second, Councillor Callison, thank you. We'll call a break. All in favour? Carried, thank you. We'll call a break for 5 minutes or until we get Councillor McKinnon back in the room out there.
Make 20, I'll run home and drag him back. That's in front of his camera with you.
Check it in the cow.
Back. Time.
It would too.
So they have had a bit of a crack at you, the DPI.
There's a sandwich while I'm at it.
Is he there?
He was.
Yeah, he was. He's just popped out again. We can start.
All right, I'll give you a call when I get back.
Okay, can I ask if someone can bring us
I'll
back?
move the standing orders be resumed.
Second, Councillor Callister, thank you. All in favour? Carried. We're just going to continue because I think Councillor King looks like he's dropped out. Does he, or?
I'd say he's just having issues with his wife, with his connection, so he might still be able to hear us.
Okay. 9.7 is the monthly financial report.
I'll move the recommendations 1 and 2.
Move Councillor Noonan, second.
I'll second it.
Councillor Elstone with a question.
How does the computer system just generate a large bill?
It does for me all the time.
All the time.
All the time to me.
That's one of the reasons why I'm getting rid of the computer system, Councillor.
Oh, I have that system.
The one we're waving, Madam Mayor, must have nearly had a heart attack when they got the bill.
Okay, so I haven't moved a second. If there's no further discussion on that one, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.8 is the monthly investment report.
Move the recommendation, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Callister, second. Councillor Evans. Simon,
Yes, Madam Mayor.
with our loans,
Yep.
we mentioned that we can get C Corp loans to pay off some of our
Possibly.
current
So
loans.
at the moment, we've only been given approval to access T Corp loans as part of the COVID-19 economic stimulus package. T Corp are waiting further advice from the Minister as to whether that may become a permanent arrangement. Previous discussions that I believe yourself and the General Manager may have had with the Minister a while back was that if we were able to demonstrate that we met T Corp's credit criteria that we may be able to be considered for future loans. So now the fact that we have met those criteria and have been approved for some loans, I'm optimistic that we will be able to access further loans from T Corp, which one of the things that we are allowed to do with them is refinance existing loans.
So in saying that, I would say that you would have a list of loans that you want to tick off or get rid of first? Yeah. So that's good. Councillor Nichols?
On page 175, we've got a $500,000 state infrastructure library loan. When was this due to be used?
That's a grant,
June
not a loan.
22 or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a grant.
Yeah, grant. Yeah, it's unexpended.
About June 2022 or something.
22. That's okay. I think it's going to run out.
I was good go, Simon. Remind me of the interest rate of T Corp loan.
The ones that we got approved recently will be around about 1.6% for 10 years.
You won't a couple of lots either.
That's what.
4.2 mil.
That's what we're
Bloody
trying to
hell,
do.
the whole
That's
lot.
what we're trying to
Don't
do.
just pick out 100, the whole bloody lot.
That's why I raised it, because I think it's something that that's something that I would honestly look at doing with some of these interest rates there.
Two other things here. One is the RFS grants recipients since 2011. We've had one meeting with RFS, I was aware of. RFS money.
RFS money.
Yeah, now I remember the meeting, like 2012, we had a meeting with them in Wentworth, and the old Steve Hawke's predecessor was in charge. We had one meeting, and this was raised and got nowhere. What's got the Kerry Weir money sitting there?
Sitting there.
Couldn't we sort of get some plan to raise the Weir using that day?
I wish.
Let's sneak it into the middle of the night. It's taken years to work out it's been done.
Oh.
Well, the government, no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't take him years.
The Kerry Weir money, there's still issues, but my understanding was there was still the creation of an easement to access the Weir was through Matthew Weir's land, but the whole between Kerry Weir is subject to discussions around NRA works approvals and or Crown licences. So yeah, I'm sorry, but I wish I could fix it. Just like you said,
And the other thing that I asked Simon was, yes, the loan, like getting T Corp to do that and maybe look at that, but in-house borrowing. So if we've got a $9 million water fund or whatever, can we in-house borrow against that to do another project?
We can. It requires ministerial approval for that. So that is an option that we could look at. If we would have to do it at commercial rates, because it's basically then returning a commercial return back to, say, the water fund, for example.
Even though you can only get 1.23 or whatever it is in it at the moment, you'd still have to borrow what it could.
It'd still have to be at 2.5% or 3% or something like that that you would normally access from a commercial.
You're going to get complicated.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I have a mover and a seconder on this. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.9, request for AFIC seal for the Discovery Holiday Park variation to Baronga Caravan Park lease.
I'll move it with a question.
I'll second it.
Move Councillor Elstone, second Councillor Noonan. Question, Councillor Elstone?
What are the jobs? I say, what are the actual challenges that they've got?
Yeah, meeting targets within their own capital works and improvements, and the need to further consider if they're going to put 27 cabins in there or whatever else. We're going to do a bit of an assessment on our sewer pump station and other bits and pieces. So the recommendation is that we go down this track to further those discussions.
Thank you.
Councillor Nichols?
Madam Mayor, they had in the first section $326,907.35 to do. The ones they've done are all the minor ones. They still have $280,500 in stage 1 to do. And then we carry over to stage 2, which is supposed to be done by the 21st of December. And if we add that to, which brings it up to 352,000, and also stage 3 is supposed to be finished at the same time, which brings them up to $499,500 worth of works to be done. Is this possible or realistic? Is it going to happen?
So that's June 2021.
21.
Yeah, 21. Yeah, 21. I mean, that's next year.
Next year, yeah.
It's still $500,000 worth of works. They had completed by June 30 this year. 280. They've done about $46,000 worth. And we're going to carry that figure, the 280, over to next to 2021. Then we're going to carry, as well as that 280, it's going to go 352. Then another 137. It's nearly $500,000 to be done by December next year. I think this is it's unrealistic. I don't think it's going to happen, and I'm just wondering whether we as a council need to have a look at the lease and conditions, because I have some concerns that the seven little.
What do you think it's not going to happen because of the financial amount? Or?
Yeah, the seven little things that happened. The three big things happened. I mean, I know there's just if you're looking at.
I wouldn't have thought $500,000 to a group like that would be a big amount a day. Some individual, it's a fairly substantial organisation Australia-wide.
With respect to doing work that possibly we should have done.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so it's not council doing the work?
No. This is a schedule attached to them nominating as part of the lease agreement that they have with council that they will undertake these works, and coming to us up front saying that they didn't complete certain components of it. This is their forecast way to commit to what was in the first part, the first lease.
And when I read that list, it's works that we probably should have done some of it.
Well, so if it's tied up, I'll be interested if I'm not on council in 12 months and then end of December, not some of us, most of us might be here to see just where they sit and whether there's extensions.
All right. Is there any further discussion to be had? No, I have a mover and a seconder. Yep. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. Do we need division on the ceiling? No. Again, another to affix the seal.
9.10 has been withdrawn.
Oh, yeah.
When an email was sent around last night. Yeah.
Just a negative question. What sort of funding, what sort of compensation does council $1?
So 9.10 has been withdrawn, so we'll go 9.11. A request to fix the council seal, the Hendy Road Baronga deed agreement and landholders compensation. Move councillor Elstone, second councillor McAllister. If there's no discussion, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. We will now go to 9.12. Naming of the Wentworth Showgrounds Pavilion.
Move the recommendation.
Move councillor Nichols, second councillor McAllister. I think that's a pretty good outcome actually. Yep. With that, so if there's no discussion, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.13, delegates and holding approvals at the end of July 2020.
Move B and C.
Move councillor Elstone, second councillor McAllister.
Good question, Madam Mayor.
Nice little list there, Matthew.
Yeah. It's
councillor Nichols, a question?
Yes, on page 217, DA 2020-056, Begona, 8 Monica Crescent, a storage facility for $660,000. What type of storage facility is this, please, and the size of it?
probably a big shed in the industrial area.
I know it's in the industrial area.
Yes. Yeah, it's basically for that industry on industrial storage.
I know where it is.
Yeah, that's essentially what's for industrial storage and whatever they're using that industry for.
It must be very large,
Yeah.
660,000.
Rentable spaces.
I mean, that industrial area's been there for the last 30 years, so I suppose it's done something.
It's starting to take off. Have you been for driving around there?
Yeah, it's time.
So that area, for what, sorry, Matthew, for what I see, it's, if you've been for driving around there, it's on the back, and they've built the sheds for people to rent.
Oh, the same as Beth Travelling with him, okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was up the front on the corner of Monica and,
This is 8 Monica Crescent.
8 Monica Crescent, lot 15.
I thought it was the two big sheds around the back. Anyway, is there any other questions in regards to this?
I've just got one question into 062. Who's the actual applicant? Am I Darling Wood?
I have to come back to you on that one, Councillor Elstone. I'm told the application form and find out for you.
Couple of fish.
I think this.
Oh, no, that's, sorry, just yeah, this is, it's horsefish, that's correct. So what they're actually doing is, they're actually building, their own above ground fish habitats.
Yep.
Yep.
No drama, just search the river.
Yep.
Anything else?
So I'm taking the additional, that's the caravan park, Brownland, New South Wales, Wentworth Shire Council trustee. Is that the caravan park?
042 you're talking about?
That's 042.
so that's the Bronga Caravan.
Bronga Caravan Park. So they're looking at a pretty substantial investment in there.
27 or 28 cabins.
Everything's around that.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That was my comment about the $500,000.
Yeah,
not a big amount.
And if you look at that number, you're also looking at, you've got to put in, you've got to consider the electrical distribution lines, you've got to look at all your infrastructure services, and water, sewage, and all
And
sorts of stuff.
And back to what Councillor Nichols brought up before, I just wonder whether, with them putting in these cabins, have they held off on their fire things because these new things are going in? You know, when we went back on that other one, it was 400,000, 400. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was to link up for fire stuff.
To do this level of work, they'll have a level of compliance to do. So
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering whether they're waiting. That's why I was wondering whether they've waited on that, held off on that to.
DAs to increase that many cabins?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, just clarify the question, make sure I did answer it. That's the DA to put the cabins in there.
Yeah.
Looks like they'll have theirs finished before ours.
I'm liking the days. I'm liking the numbers on the far right hand column.
Yeah, they're good.
That's good.
That's good. It's good.
There's some nice low figures there. I have a mover and a seconder. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. And now we need a division. Councillor Nichols, are you? Sorry. Councillor McKinnon, I've got you. Thank you. That's everyone. Thank you. 9.14, debt and men in the shed.
I'll do the recommendation with much pleasure.
Move Councillor Newton. Second Councillor Elstone with lots of pleasure.
Question.
Question?
Who owns the block?
Crown
So, and we're the trustee?
Council's trustee.
Beautiful.
They did have a building there before.
What was it?
What was there, Councillor McKinnon?
It was a boys' club, the police boys' club.
Yeah.
We had to remove it through certain reasons.
So sorry, what was it called? The Dead Youth Club.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, we met with the men in the shed group. They're very passionate about it. They see this as their future, so.
Yeah. Which is exciting for that group because they're not over large group, are they?
It's brought to you in this timeframe on the basis with the knowledge that they're going to get funding, there's going to be land tenure, there's going to be other bits and pieces of issues to resolve, so it won't be fixed overnight.
So at least they're moving forward then. Have a move in a second. I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 9.15. Wentworth Aerodrome.
Move the recommendation.
Move Councillor Nichols, second Councillor McAllister. Is there anything further we need to talk about on this? Gunny, I like your pictures. I like your updates of your photos. I think it's great.
It is now mid-August. It says here, the new aerodrome office building will be ordered and scheduled to be delivered.
You don't need that.
Can we just ask
The
a
office,
question of
did the
Jeff,
office get
please?
delivered the other day?
Offices delivered and in place, yes.
On time, on schedule.
Ahead of time, because.
There you go.
Oh,
Mid
I'm
August.
impressed.
That must have been sourced from New South Wales.
Probably
Yeah,
was.
Centralised command will see it from.
Any other questions for
a real
Gunny on the airport?
Only going back, Jeff, to the briefing, when's the ceiling due?
The ceiling was due and at the start of October.
So probably still going to have an issue, aren't we?
We're still going to have an issue, yes.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Councillor Noonan in regards to making comment on that at the cross-border thing on Friday morning, because they're the sort of things that James McTavish will then take back to the ministers and that. So we need to let them know that we've got a $9 million project that could be put on hold because we can't get contractors across. There's a lot I've heard of others down on the end of the on the state going through similar things, and I know they are working about it, but they wanted to have a number that they could force into the door. So
Even as Jeff Gunn told me yesterday, so their contractor do works in Moama, Moolameen, here.
Renmark.
So it's all the same lot.
Yeah,
and I think what they ask is it, yes, you've got that one job, but is there anything else that company can do for you whilst they're here?
Well, this company, our current contractor to undertake all our primer sealing work on our construction jobs, all our reseal work for council, for our RMS related works and our regional roads construction work.
So this company does it all?
If they can't get here, so there's their component which I think is close to $1 million for the sealing of the airport, and then roughly between $1.5 and $2 million worth of other surfacing work that they do for us in our normal program and for our contracts.
It was about $4 million for us, wasn't it?
With the construction works, yeah.
So that's something that Councillor.
It's a funded project too, so I mean,
yeah,
you're looking at getting things done.
Yeah, and look, and trust me, they are aware, everyone's aware of it. That they're aware of these contractors, and not just those, but any contractor that's outside zones can't cross border, and you'll hear it being spoke about quite strongly. So,
can I ask a stupid question? What's this white stuff that they're putting down? Is that gypsum?
No, that's the lime stabilisation. So that is the stabilisation of the existing subgrade material. So that's spread out, and you can see the water truck, that's hydrating the lime. So that's an exothermic reaction. So that's just heat and steam coming off the lime. And then once that's activated, they mix that into the existing material, 200 mil depth, and compact that down, and that lifts the bearing ratio of the soil, so it increases the strength of that subgrade soil before we put the gravel material on top.
yeah. Thanks. So, Gunny, if this and it's probably a stupid question because we don't know how long things are going to go, but if these contractors can't get across borders, do you see a delay to what extent?
Well,
it's a bit hard to say because
well,
we don't
it's a bit
know.
hard to say because if they're delayed, then
everything else gets
the
delayed.
line marking is delayed and the rest of the markers are delayed. So
what about our lighting guys? Where are they?
The lighting guys are based in Bathurst, so they've already been here. So they can get here to do work. The issue with them is the supply of materials out of Melbourne.
And trust me, this is, again, I'll keep going back to it. That's exactly what I'm hearing it right along the whole border closure thing. And not just our border, it's not just Victoria, New South Wales, it's South Australia, Victoria, it's New South Wales, Queensland. It's the same thing right across. So I think we're going to have a hard battle. And unless things change.
Yeah, so the last paragraph of that report, like at the time of writing it, we were good, and as I said, we were in front of our construction timeframe, but since the time of writing that report, all those potential things that can cause delays have come to fruition, and we're suffering.
Okay. But good work so far. I think it's a credit to you and your staff to where you've got that airport to so well. So have a mover and a seconder on that. I'll ask all in favour. Carried. 9.16 project and works reports update. Councillor McAllister, Councillor Noonan. Any questions through any of these for Jeff?
It's just nice to see the work is going on with the Dearden pool, but I think the rain might have upset them for a day. Did it at 2 foot of water is possible.
We're sort of damned if we do and damned if we don't, aren't we, with a lot of these works with the rain? But the rain's been beautiful.
It's kind of Mickey Mouse when it's finished. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's good.
Things on song with the sewer upgrade at Dearden. After the weather.
So the sewer upgrade, the rework back on the pond area, so that's all the transfer of the waste material in the original pond has already taken place, so all the transfer and headworks have been done. That's all been shifted to pond number 3. Pond number 1 has substantially dried out. The removal of all the existing sludge and material has been undertaken, although that slowed up last week from the rain. The repair methods for pond number 2, the contractor is undertaking that work at his own cost, and that material has also been ordered. Again, probably the program is to repair pond number 2, and then once it is certified, the changeover from the gravity system in Dearden will then commission the pump and then start to transfer all the waste material out to Dearden, and then we can disinfect the old treatment plant and they can commence the decommissioning, and probably the last thing that will happen is the line on pond number 1. So we've got a specific program in place to ensure that all that happens. And as Ken said, going off that program that the contractor has submitted, that's supposed to be in place, weather dependent, by mid-December. So we're hoping
There's a fair bit of work going on throughout the Shire with that sort of stuff, the Golgol one, and it's stuff that's happening that you just don't, it's behind them. You don't see it. Like I've been driving past that Golgol water filtration plant now for I don't know how long. That's been a huge job to redo all that. It must have been. And are they still on track out there?
Yeah, well, you'll notice on the the updated photos for the Goulburn water treatment plant. So that liner of the second pond, that's all been completed. And of course, with the upgrade of that ageing infrastructure, there was things that were just not apparent until such time as you start to pull things out. So that required some inlet and an outlet repair works. There's a major lot of work being done down at the river, at the pump station. So all the new switchboards and everything, and the whole new construction of that building that's taken place down there that's all in place. So, and the major changes that are happening up at the balance tank. So when you actually go into the site, there's a lot of stuff that it's probably not even apparent driving past.
Yeah,
when
you don't even see it.
Yeah, when you go into the treatment place itself,
and I think that's what I'm alluding to, like as Councillor Noonan said, like your everyday ratepayers, they wouldn't see it. Like there's a hell of a lot going on. Like
and again, those guys there have also suffered some delays because a lot of their electrical components are coming out of Melbourne. Having said that, though, they've got a pretty good plan back in place. So it's delayed the project a little bit, but it's still not holding them up from the other work. So they're trying to address that.
Well done.
I just had a question, Madam Mayor, about the Baronga EDS. Do we have any idea of whether that's going to be complete by summer?
I'll take that question on notice, and I can confirm back to you what the updates for the work is. So obviously the contractor's on site, still the pile, and he doing all a lot of the other structural work and components have already been prefabricated to get put in on the site. So I'd like to give you an answer right now, but I'll confirm with the project engineer on the exact time frame.
Any more on those? No, having moved a second, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. 10.1 is notice of motion or questions with notice. Menindee Lake Water Saving Project. Councillor McAllister.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to move this. Information that came through, which includes a letter that the group sent off to the team yesterday. If someone wanted to second it, it'd be great. Speak to it.
Okay, the motion's there. Councillor McAllister's happy to move it. Have a seconder. Councillor Haywood, sorry. There's no.
So yeah, I just wanted to mention that there was also an email that came through late last night from the department, which sets out all of the minutes and agendas, which two of them I think I wasn't there for. I've just attended the last three, and councillors will know that I've brought these to previous meetings as well for councillors to have a look at. The chief concern, if you have a look at the letter that's been sent off to the department, is that until there's a guarantee of water being able to come to Menindee Lakes, they're not going to save any water through evaporation. And the continued reluctance to address that issue of longitudinal connectivity in the Darling River basically means that we're all wasting our time, because if the water's never going to get to Menindee, they're not going to save any water, the project's a moot point. So also I did mention a little bit earlier that there is a standard for community consultation and engagement, and the manner with which the outstanding actions, right through the minutes you can see we've requested documents, we've requested information, and things have been taken on notice and not responded to. So the whole thing's fraught, and I would consider that it's a waste of this council's time until those very pertinent issues are addressed. So you'll also see there are a couple of letters at the end that have been attached. One from the group to the Minister dated the 27th of July and one from Central Darling Council which was sent off to the Deputy Premier on the 5th of August. And so what I'm suggesting is that we also write to the Premier so that she's aware of what's going on and how this council feels about things, and also the Federal Water Minister, who I would consider also needs to know that this very important plan, which represents 106 of the 605 gigalitres under the Basin Plan, which is to be returned with no environmental impact, is significantly at risk.
Okay. Anyone else want any?
I'm just in favour, Madam Mayor, just purely on the basis it's always been the council's view that we support the community, the groups, and I think the letter that's been passed out today from Terry Smith about their meeting on Saturday, I think it was, on the 15th of August up at Sunset Strip. I think that just sums up everything we've been saying, particularly in relation to the consultation process. Seems to at times just get ticked off and back it goes and no notice taken. So, and the whole thing, ever since we've been involved, has been about connectivity from the top to the bottom. That seems to have disappeared with the water sharing plans too.
So, Gail, I don't know whether you heard Councillor Callister ask whether we could have a letter maybe addressed to the Premier.
Part of the motion.
As part of the motion. It's all there. All right, thank you. All right, we have a move in a second.
One thing I'm not sure of, Madam Mayor, is whether this council considers it necessary for me to continue attending these meetings on behalf of council or not. I mean, I'm happy to so do or not, depending on this council's
Well, I think by the look of that letter, council, and they're saying, well, they don't want to continue themselves to the SAG group.
That's right.
Until the connectivity thing's addressed.
So let's let
perhaps
it sit.
it's a play it by ear thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate what you're saying. You know, if you're going to an Indian back to achieve nothing.
That's good to have consideration.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay, we have a move and a second for it. I'll put it if there's no further. All those in favour? Carried. Questions?
Just one, I don't know if everyone's aware that the owners put on the new electronic scoreboard on Friday at 1:30.
Friday at 1:30.
Everyone got the message that one?
What's that?
The new scoreboard, George Gordon Oval, big electronic jockey. You know, turn it on, 1:30. I got one through the club. Council's aware of it, but it's 1:30 at Georgie G.
Yeah, 1:30.
It wasn't an official thing through council.
No.
It didn't come, but it was through club members.
Yeah, Alfie Murdoch
Yeah,
said to the
yeah.
club.
So it was through club members that.
Who we other club?
Yeah.
No, Wentworth Football
Footy
Club.
club.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Alfie Murdoch said it.
Wentworth Footy Club.
Craig
If you remember, it wasn't an official invitation through council, but it was to the club members, yes.
Nothing wrong, I'll send you an email, but I think it's something to that.
Okay, Councillor Nicholas, any questions?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Up in front of the UIGA up the road here, I've had a truck driver say to me yesterday, actually, that there's going to be someone killed. People are not obeying the signs out there, and I'm just wondering if council could go to the proprietor of the business, and he or someone put a sign saying that you can leave it via the rear, because they're coming out on the front on the highway and they're doing U-turns in front of trucks. Now, trucks take a long time to slow down. It was just this fella said, I thought he might do a U-turn in front of me, so started slowing. But he said, if a truck comes through there and someone does a U-turn right in front of them, they'll kill someone. So we need to. We've been warned, so perhaps I don't know whether.
He's actually got signage there.
I know it's got
There is
signage, but
there's signage saying rear access, and there is there. All the lines are painted on the road. People just need.
I'll just refresh my memory through Jeff. What was the date when Fulton Hogan was meant to show up?
So Fulton Hogan they'll do the surfacing in roughly about 4 weeks' time, but the project has been stalled for the last month because of design-related issues between the private developer and RMS. Council facilitated that a solution to the existing problems which have been ongoing, and our final meeting was about 4 or 5 days ago. Those final plans are being communicated back through to the contractor now with RMS's approval, with a view to recommencing the project on Monday next week, subject to weather. Council's involvement in the areas while the works are going on is to provide the traffic control. So next week they'll adjust and make adjustments to those existing islands that are there, complete the curb and channel on the opposite side of the road and the fencing. And the other links, there's probably about 2.5 to 3 weeks work there, and then RMS will contract through their panel contracts Fulton Hogan to do the full asphalt overlay, which links from Carramar right through past there, and then the line marking on top of that.
I did say to this chap that, you know, it was a highway, and you know, council really didn't police it. This is probably where those road safety meetings would probably, if you had councillors coming along, would be interesting, because they bring other stuff.
And in that strip at the moment, Councillor Nichols, it's 40 k's.
I know it's 40 k's. I travelled at 40.
So it's
like Tribunal is 50.
It's 40 k's through that roadwork section. So.
But how many? Perhaps police need to.
Oh, they've been there.
Look at it.
RMS and police are well aware.
Okay. All right. The second one, and the second one will lead on to the third one. That's probably 4 months ago now. Half a dozen of us went up and we looked at, and in the next council meeting, we purchased a kitchen, purchased a ablutions block, and we purchased 2 living functions. The same day, we went down to the caravan park in Wentworth. We're told that we needed to put a piece of some dirt in there so it could be raised off the kitchen could be raised off the ground, and so on and so forth. I believe we've shifted some of it, or if not all of it, and I don't know what the cost was, but I know it's fairly expensive to shift stuff. Where is the current kitchen? It's not at the caravan park, I believe. So where is it? And how long is it going to take to get to the...
All buildings remain in place up at Carnegie. None of them have been shifted yet.
None have been moved.
I've got another couple of weeks to do that.
It's been sold, hasn't it? I mean, this is a thing. We buy something. We've got something in our plan that says we want some huge amount of money for a kitchen. We purchase the kitchen, and I know that the caravan parks and those have been reasonable, because you see people coming in and still there. So, you know, I have some concerns that we haven't done it. So that question is, when are they going to come down, and how quickly are we going to do things? And the second question, concern to that, is in this paperwork here, we put aside $90,000, and the $90,000 was put in there for refurbishment of the swimming pool. It was actually refurbishment of the toilet and changing facilities, and over there it says scope of works to create toilets that interface with the new skate park. We've got a facility down there that's been open for quite a few months, and if you don't know the area, they've got to run 200 yards or something to get to a toilet. Now that, quite frankly, is a disgrace. We've opened the facility up, and we should have toilets there. Perhaps one of those rooms that we were going to cut in half and make toilets and safety rooms for the waste disposal areas where rubbish tips might be able to be used, but we need to get a toilet there, because people when they haven't got the virus are coming across from over the river, and they're using that, and it's a nice area down there, but if a little child, small children, then they can't run 200 yards to get to a toilet, and half the people don't know there's a toilet over at the football oval. So what are we going to do to get a toilet into that facility? And these aren't things that I'd make up, they're things that people come to me with. So
I'll take your question on notice. I mean, you've got a project there saying that we're going to refit and refurbish and make the toilets in the pool the accessible toilets for the skate park. That's what we're working towards. We gave the consent for the skate park on the basis of and I admit your point or agree to your point in relation to small children, but the facilities are there for the skate park to currently access those 150 metre away toilets. So until we facilitate what we're going to do, that's a project we're working on, Jeff, in relation to the swimming pool toilets and accessibility from the skate park. Yeah. Sorry, it's a project for which further work's got to be done around the design component of it to make it happen.
I remember running with my daughter from one end of Kmart all the way through the car park to get to the toilets, which was probably a little bit
but she's 10, so it's a little bit like
no,
saying,
when she was little, when we first got here and she was only little.
And I mean, if you're coming across Mildura and you're using the facilities, we highlight the fact that people think it's a wonderful facility. Well, most of them don't know that there's a toilet.
Council discussed this though when we were looking at the park, and you know, it just, I mean, I understand, but we've already been all over it.
There could be some signage pointing to where the toilets are and how far it is. I brought this up when I first come on council about the toilets at the Visitor Information Centre, where people are pulling up where the bakery is and that, and there could be signs pointing down the lane to where there is toilets, because the only toilet in that vicinity is one in the service station. That's just a multi-use one toilet, and it's really needing something just to let visitors know where to head to find one. It's there, but to find it, it's maybe too late.
Okay, question?
Yeah, mine's to do with the riverfront project that we're doing. It's to do with the yabby, big yabby. My son acquired this yabby, and we need somewhere to put it. He's willing to cart it from out the bush into the area free of charge. We need to start thinking about where it's going to go, and so it can be moved. It's on a property, and I don't know how long you can leave something there before somebody says it's theirs and not ours.
Would that be something that fit in with the new barbecue and stuff down there at the?
Well, I sort of had a figure where the rowing club is, and then that other shed going towards the caravan park. There's a nice area there that would be back off the river and above the bit of the flood, and it would get people through the town, and the same thing, get them to the caravan park. Once they're in town, then they tend to, once they're propped, they might go up the street and buy some food.
I have memory of this, the Abbey Sunland. It would have to be fenced, so people don't climb on it.
Well, you'd stick up a big stick, wouldn't you?
Well, that's Big Fish and Swan Mill.
It's a big concrete thing that's about, what's the length of it? 20 metres.
Yeah. This is real long, that the Abbey would be, yeah.
It's very big.
I thought I had memories of saying someone talked about it before and saying it had to be, if we put it wherever, it has to be fenced. It can't go up high, it's too heavy.
Wasn't it up on top of the building there? Is that the same?
No, it used to be down next to the old jail.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Many years ago.
Yeah, so it's the same Abbey.
Yeah.
Right. Can I suggest that we send it to Broken Hill Council to reflect the fact that when they turned the pipeline on, they ended up with a whole pile of yabbies that
You're being very facetious over there, councillor.
I guess that's a topic of discussion we need to have. So we've seen the Abbey, we've talked about the Abbey, but it's not a project on our list of projects to conduct or do. So I need to know what's council's position on it in terms of resourcing and potentially doing something with it.
Does it float?
Like,
it's complicated.
Well, the thing is that we did have groups of people that at the time were interested in welding it, putting it back together, doing the concrete plastering and that, and to paint it. When projects get out so long, people sort of forget about it, and then you've got to try and reinvigorate it.
I think it'd be a tourist attraction, so why would we want
The
to?
tourist information people have contacted me about it to see where we're at, and I said, well, we're not.
It probably needs to be relocated somewhere where it can be reassessed, rebuilt, worked on by
You can't do that,
community project.
It's something that you would have to
But
bring
that
to
would
mind.
be number one step, wouldn't it?
I wonder if we could put it where the ruby's supposed to be.
I just said we've had, I just said that the man there.
Yeah. But it's just too good a thing for Wentworth.
So does it need much work done to it? Like, is
There's
it?
a fair bit of welding in that, but we've had volunteers that are willing to put in. The tourist information people said they're willing to do some.
I can
said
sort of
she
remember it,
could-
but I can't. Does it need like painting and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, well,
It
that's
does,
a lot.
doesn't it?
Yeah,
It needs a
it's
lot of
fine.
work done.
So, you know, but I can bring a heap of pictures along to the next meeting and show you. When they were taking it down, there was lots of pictures taken of it when they were moving it out of where it was.
Yeah. Is that all?
Yep.
Yep. Councillor McKinnon, do you have any?
Yeah, just going over an old one. You brought it up yourself. Had to go up the street the other day and just thought I'd go past the first house I built in Neilpost Street, see how it was going. And my God, if a tourist pulled up where the toilets are in Neilpost Street and looked at those flats, they would just put their foot on the accelerator and keep going. The whole street is actually looking in the same tone. I think it's about time the council just went in and cleaned it up at their own expense, just to help the town maintain some tourist level.
I hear I've had quite a number of residents from Derton saying that they're trying their hardest to get the town on and up and up. There's some new houses being built out there, and they're trying their damnedest to get the reputation of the town lifted, and then there's something like that. So I've had a number of people talk to me about it, Councillor McKinnon, and that's why I raised it at that last meeting. I just think we need to do something, and it's in the town area. It's just not nice. It's not nice.
So Councillor McKinnon was brought to our attention probably whatever time, and I've asked that we go and serve a few notices and a few orders around, and if they don't get implemented, then we've got the right to go and do as you indicated in terms of clean up. Those flats are one of those orders that have been served previously.
Okay.
Is Mr. Dooney
That would be good.
Yeah, so Mr. has done his initial survey work, for lack of a better term. We've identified those properties that do need to serve a letter on them. There's other properties where we just need to have a little bit of a polite conversation with them and ask them, hey, look, do you mind if you do this? Because it's some of them aren't too bad. They might look terrible, but all they might know, some of the properties, it's the nature strips in front of the footpath, you see the quick mower whippers in it. Other properties are a bit more, disorderly looking, and we need to sort of be a bit more heavy-handed with them. But we've done our initial survey work, and I'll be talking to Peter next few days to find out what our next steps are.
Just a question, and I don't want to know who. Do the units pay their rates? Are they up to date with? I mean,
hasn't been brought to my attention otherwise, but I'll take your question on notice.
Because
they're owned out of Melbourne, and they're landlord management or tenancy management out of Melbourne.
Is that all, Don?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Callister?
Nothing from me, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Wheeldon?
How are we going with the pump out stations? We've done wrong. Should we be applying for more money for the others, or what?
We've got some. So we've got the Wentworth. We've got the funding for the Wentworth one for a project to be delivered in
next year. Design work, design.
Yeah. So sorry. Let's just talk about the end product. Let's say when we're going to complete it, it's going to be June 2022 is when the money's got to be spent by.
That's all.
Okay, Councillor Evans?
So the existing pump out station at Wentworth's got to last till shut down before construction. I hope it lasts that long. My question, or is just reiterating what I've said before. I appreciate this Shire has a huge amount of work out there, a lot of projects going on, and I certainly appreciate the work the engineering department are doing. The airport has become a big focus of projects, also our water systems, but I do see our smaller projects being very piecemeal. People running around checking this, checking that. All I see is a bit of a floundering effort at the moment to try and get smaller projects going and keep them going, and to see things like toilet blocks last in the system for 6 months before completion just defies my logic, and I'm at a bit of a loss to actually answer people that ask me constantly every day what the hell's going on. But anyway, that's the way it is. The pump out station at Wahroonga is a disaster. I've been questioned by many people about that, and I think that needs to be addressed quickly, otherwise it's egg on our face again. That project should be done and dusted. You know, they built 16 in South Australia in 18 months, 16 pump out stations, and we can't build one in 4 years. I was on a committee before my council term, now going into a fifth year. And these projects are just floundering, and it's embarrassing. And anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you.
So when you say it's a disaster, the one at Wahroonga, do you mean because of the time it's taken, or
the time it's taken?
Is there a problem?
Well, there's other issues, and it comes down to contractors, efficiency of contractors, and their contract, the way that their contract's carried out. It seems like they're in charge, not us. Contractors shouldn't be in charge of a project to make it their project. It should be our project, managed by us and dealt with in a timely fashion. And we're getting a pretty tough going of it, I think. Agree with that.
Councillor Elstone?
No, we're good. Thanks, Melanie.
Okay. That is the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you, everybody. And so meeting closed. Our next meeting is the 16th of September. And at this stage, I would be saying it's probably going to be here again, unless any drastic changes in the next month with what's going on. So thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Meeting closed. Thanks, Councillor McKinnon.
You wanted to do